If you hear random crashes or noises from downstairs, it is because my mother is putting away Christmas, and my cat is very sad about that. Simba's only concept of time is essentially the time of the year when the Christmas tree is in fact up, and the time of the year when Mom takes it down. That's all he knows. Anyways, I thought we were done with the Generation War stuff because it's obviously manufactured garbage that gets, clicks on irrelevant news sites. I happen to be wrong in this instance. There has been a wave of Gen Z folks making fun of Gen Alpha online because they like to go to Sephora. I would like to make this clear very early on in the video. If you are doing kids these days as a Gen Z person, you are no better than millennials, you are no better than Gen X, and you are certainly no better than boomers. So that's how we're going to start this off. Next thing we're going to do is actually define millennial, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha, just to avoid discourse in the comments section, because the years differ depending on what source you use. The years of the generations will be different. I am personally going to be using the PEW Research Center's definition of millennial, Gen Z, and then Gen Alpha. Millennials are born between 1981 and 1996. Gen Z is born between 1997 and 2012. Gen Alpha is born between 2013 and it's debated when it will end, but 2025 is what I'm going to go with here. That makes the oldest Gen Alpha person turning 11. Some sources say 1996 is also Gen Z. Some sources say 2011 is when Gen Z leaves off, and then Gen Alpha starts at 2012. I'm going to be real with you. It does not matter because these are social constructs we've created in order to help understand better the behaviors of certain age groups, and that is it. It does not matter. On to the actual topic. Generation Alpha is getting older now. The oldest ones are preteens, essentially. They are creating their own memes on the internet. They're finding themselves during an unfortunate time where one's identity is a commodity to sell on the internet, usually via short-form video. TikTok, I'm looking at you. Gen Z and a smattering of millennials have been making videos online, usually on these short-form video platforms, about how misbehaved and terrible Gen Alpha is. How they can't read, how they are terrible and horrible little creatures with behavior problems.
You know how the 12-year-old girls act in a Sephora, but do you know how they act in a dance class?
Oh my gosh, I literally can't even. I don't want to be here right now. Oh, the teacher looks so ugly today. She looks so ugly. Somebody doesn't know what drunk elephant is. Miss Smith, do you know what a Stanley Cup is? No, you don't? No, you're not cool. Okay. Dance controls my life. Oh, have you guys heard of this? Whatever, it's too cold in here. I'm wearing whatever I want.
You guys do realize you are talking about kids that have just been born all the way to potentially age 12, right? I just want to make clear to everybody that you are an adult going online and making fun of the behavior of literal children. You have beef with 10-year-olds. Okay, now that I've got that established, I saw this video from a millennial the other day, which I will show for reference.
Every generation becomes uncool is apparently a very controversial take. I made a video about Gen Z dunking on Gen Alpha for going to Sephora. The reality is that Gen Alpha doesn't care. Every younger generation, when somebody older makes fun of them, they're like, okay. And my point was simply that we're all human. These generational divides are silly. And then started saying stuff like this, which is funny because when I was growing up, everybody was so faux concerned for my generation. Oh my goodness, the children, they're spending all of their time indoors in front of TV. They have no social skills. They're so undisciplined. They have this ADHD. Is it because of the video games? It's the video games. Oh my goodness, they're gonna kill each other with the video games. No, that was actually lack of gun control. So to watch Gen Z attack individuals and not the systems, I cannot understand the cognitive dissonance of saying Gen Alpha can't read. Yeah, well, books are being banned. And they went to elementary school during COVID, which was through virtual learning. Acting like this is a new take. Reminder, every generation, the parents are blamed. I'm just saying, you're kind of proving my point. We're all so similar.
She's right, for the most part. This is cyclical and seemingly never ending, because each generation will say, I won't be like them. And then when the time comes around, you act exactly like them. She is absolutely right. Gen Z is making fun of these children, literal children, for being rude, for not being able to read, and for being hyper-consumerist without thinking about why that is, the systemic things in place that make that so. Now, there were things I don't agree with that this millennial said. This millennial's comparison of unregulated internet access and censored and programmed television is a terrible comparison. Gen Z has also had an experience that they can share with Gen Alpha, where we were given unfiltered internet access at an age we shouldn't have. I'm going to tell you right now, watching Sweet Life of Zack and Cody on Disney Channel did not fuck me up like reading Jeff the Killer fan fiction at age 11. Let's not act like all of the terrible, uncensored garbage on the internet is not doing worse damage than television did to millennials in the 90s. That was programmed, censored, had to go through several executives. Likely your parents would be, aware of what you were watching because the TV would be in the TV room. This is not comparable to the internet, and acting like it is batshit insane. Children can search for anything on the internet. They have complete access to millions of adults and other children's opinions, unregulated advertisements, specifically targeted towards them. They are made vulnerable to porn and all of the groomers online that are looking to strike when they are most vulnerable. This is not faux concern. I went through this maybe at a later age than these kids might have. By later age, I mean 10 and 11. But I went through this. I know what the, consequences of this are. I am irreparably damaged by unfiltered internet access, and I am extremely concerned for these children that have had iPads shoved in their faces the day they were born. The iPad wasn't a thing until 2010. So that is Generation Alpha's kryptonite. I'd say for, Gen Z, it happened a little bit later because the iPod Touch came out in 2007. So it does matter whether or not you're an early Gen Z or a late Gen Z. They were born and iPads existed. This needs to be acknowledged. I agreed with this millennial that Gen Z, going on our porch and shaking our fists at the kids that are in their lawn is not the appropriate reaction to what's happening. And I agree that this cyclical garbage needs to be put to rest immediately. But I'm going to say right now that acting like this is not unprecedented territory is ignoring reality. Blaming children for the systemic issues they are facing makes you a boomer. Get it together. Gen Alpha can't read? I wonder if there was a worldwide event that happened in 2020 that may have set back education for 2 years. I fucking wonder. Are we just not gonna acknowledge COVID? Or are we just at the stage of COVID where we're pretending it never happened? I feel like I'm going crazy. We had to go through that too, My mom has told me it has impacted. They are still struggling to catch these kids up because of, the lockdowns from 2020 to 2022. Haha, Gen Alpha can't read. They went through a traumatizing event not knowing what the fuck was going on as they were barely functioning. Gen Alpha is hyper-consumerist. These poor kids are living during a late-stage capitalism time where all of the content they consumed includes advertisements directed specifically towards them. How is that their fault? If anything, if you are purposefully advertising to children, I will meet you in hell with a baseball bat, you better start running. Generation Alpha is so rude. Are we just pretending like COVID didn't happen? I feel like I'm going crazy. I feel like I'm being gaslit by the entire universe right now. Are you pretending that COVID didn't happen? That is 2 years of underdeveloped, social skills. They need to catch up. Not to mention, and Gen Z is not going to like me for these next few statements, but they are mimicking us. I don't think a lot of you want to hear it, but Gen Alpha is mimicking our behavior on the internet. Kids mimic. That's how they learn. They watched how rude Generation Z is to everybody and everything on the internet, and they are simply regurgitating that. And unfortunately, it has real-life consequences because Gen Z might not be as rude in real life and vent it all out on the internet, but it is a real-life problem because Gen Alpha doesn't know how to separate their online selves from their real-life self. We can blame millennials for parenting, absolutely. And you will be dragged next, I promise. But I'm not going to sit here and act like Gen Z did nothing to facilitate this. I'm not some random kid's babysitter. That's true. You're right. Does that change the real-life impact, though? Does that change what happened? Reality doesn't change just because you're not some kid online's babysitter. Now for the main event. A lot of the blame needs to fall on millennials as parents. To you, your children are glass pieces that can do no wrong, but they have already shattered and are cutting everybody in their way. It is your job to clean up the mess and actually fucking parent. And, we'll start with acknowledging there's a problem. The amount of time my mother has identified untreated neurodivergence, unaccommodated for neurodivergence, and a millennial parent has refused to help their child under the guise that their child is this perfect little boy. Oh, this is my little glass boy. He can do nothing wrong. Disgusting. Get it together. You guys need to actually parent your children and not the iPad. Because when you let the iPad parent your child, you are consenting to millions of strange adults online to parent your child. You need to be more present for your child's development. You need to teach your child at home. You need to help your child when they're obviously not the perfect little baby you thought they were. And you need to ensure that the children that need accommodations get them. I need you to do a better job at parenting those kids. Gentle parenting does not mean no parenting. That is passive parenting. There is a difference. All in all, my message is this. Gen Z, stop being massive boomers standing on your porch waving your fist at the kids in your lawn. Having beef with 10-year-olds is cringe. Real concern is fine, but don't concern bait and then in a roundabout way blame the children for what has happened. Millennials, I need you to parent your fucking kids. I try to defend you guys often, but I cannot defend you about this. An iPad is not a babysitter unless you're cool with millions of strange adults babysitting your child. Do better.